Thank you so much for joining me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. Today we're going to talk about affection as demonstrated through humor or affectionate humor. When I was a kid, I loved to tell jokes. I thought it was really fun. And after I would tell a joke and people would laugh, then I would cry. And I'd say, "Oh, Mom, those guys are laughing at me." And my mom would say, "No, no, no, they're laughing with you." I was really not a very successful joke teller. And I confess, I'm still really not very good at it today. It's just not my strength. I'm terminally serious and I'm probably just not that great at telling jokes. But I do appreciate someone who's good at telling jokes, and I appreciate someone with a good sense of humor. We all understand that when you're in the middle of a stressful situation or a long term difficult or challenging situation, you put someone in the mix who has a good sense of humor and it helps to lighten the load. And there's nothing like a good laugh. I mean, a legitimate, clean, hearty laugh to help someone feel better and ease some of the tension. With that being said, I want to acknowledge to you there are people in the world who always joke at the expense of someone else. They always have this cutting edge or this mean side to their humor. That is never appropriate and certainly never appreciated. That's not the kind of humor that I'm talking about. If you have to tell a joke or if you're going to get a laugh at the expense of another human being, it is A, unkind, B, unnecessary, and in my opinion, C, extremely cruel. You don't have to pick on someone or demean them or insult them in order to get people to laugh. I just want you to understand that. I had a son. Well, I still have him, praise God, but I had a son who, when he was a kid, he was born sarcastic. Not a big surprise because his dad has this really sarcastic, sideways sense of humor. But when you're talking to a 2 or 3-year-old and sarcastic humor is coming out of their mouth, I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't like it. And frankly, I was utterly shocked by it. How can this kid be such a little smart aleck? I mean, he's this tall. Where in the world is this stuff coming from? We really had some conflict because I couldn't understand it, I couldn't relate to it, and very truthfully, there were moments when I was really stressed out. He was trying to make me laugh, but all he did was make me more stressed out. It didn't really work very well. He and I had to learn how to get along. But I must tell you, as an adult, he is amazing in my life. And when I'm really stressed out, probably better than anyone I know, he could calm me down. And he often does it with humor. So let's say you're in the kitchen and for whatever reason, you go to open a bag of flour and it just goes all over the place. So you have this white cloud of stuff that's kind of choking everybody, and it's still flying, and it's all over you, and it's all over the counter, and it's everywhere, everywhere. You can be ticked. That is a probably in many people's idea an appropriate response. But you know what? You can also laugh. And if you will laugh instead, you will have a much better life. A few weeks ago, we talked about perspective. Everything is dependent upon where you stand and what you see. In that kind of a situation, it is about perspective. You can choose to see it as if you were standing outside the window looking in, how absolutely hysterical it would look. Or if you had caught that on video, it could go on America's Funniest Videos and you might win a couple $1,000. You just have to keep it in perspective and try to find the humor in it. There's definitely humor in a lot of human mishaps or errors, crazy things that go on. And so look for that humor. A part of humor definitely is affectionate. Someone is stressed out, they're having a horrible bad day, they are not feeling very well, and you tell them something comical or you get them to laugh. That really is affection. You are showing love to them in a really significant way by introducing humor into a really dark or difficult time. And so you need to learn how to have affectionate humor. One of those ways that you do that is to laugh at yourself. Okay. Often as parents, we don't like to acknowledge our mistakes. We don't like to admit our failures or weaknesses. And so we kind of get, a little stiff and a little stern, and yes, I'm the parent. And I'm not telling you there are not many, many times when that is absolutely appropriate. But occasionally, you just need to lighten up, okay? And in admitting, hey, today I'm the human person, that means I'm probably going to spill stuff, break stuff, fall down, hurt myself, just the craziest things. And instead of being all mad and flustered, laugh about it, okay? Isn't it something that oftentimes when we watch bloopers or crazy movies and videos, it is the stuff that people do that's just ridiculous when they fall or drop and break things. That's what we laugh about. Sometimes we awkwardly laugh because it really wasn't all funny, but there's that element of humor in there. Learn to appreciate those elements or moments of humor. In fact, foster that attitude. I saw a kid the other day. He broke something and he like cowered down and he immediately started looking around, waiting for somebody to slap him or scream at him. I could tell that kid in his lifetime hasn't always had good experiences when things broke or things fell. And someone nearby said, "Well, I don't think you could do that again if you tried," in that kind of a voice and attitude. And the kid said, "I know, right? Let's see." And he tried it again. And he didn't have the same result. But they laughed about it. So instead of him going forward in fear or concerned that he's going to get yelled and screamed at or belittled or made to feel stupid, it was a moment of laughter. And that was awesome. That was a decision on the part of the adult in the situation. Mom, Dad, you get to make that choice. And so introduce affectionate humor into your family's life. One kid in a school where I worked, he always got these joke books out of the library. Some of those jokes were really awful. But you know what? The kids loved it. And so he got to the point where every day in class, the teacher allowed him to tell a joke or two. He got to be really pretty good at delivery. Maybe there's someone in your family that would find it fun to look at corny joke books or whatever, or maybe you could even do it together as a family. Now, a lot of people struggle to have breakfast together. I'm not a morning person. It's really and truly not my time of the day, at least not my preferred time of the day. But at dinner time, it's also a great thing to do. Try to make sure that those jokes are clean and those jokes are not insulting anybody anywhere, and really learn to laugh together as a family. It's a very healthy thing. My kids and I used to watch funny movies on purpose. I could tell you lots of them, but they're pretty much all old ones. They're not new. And yet, even today, there are some movies that have some pretty good humor in them. With good friends of mine, yesterday we went and saw Family Camp, which was pretty crazy. Had a lot of really funny moments in it. And you just want to have opportunities in your household to laugh together. And it's part of developing sort of a playful spirit. I'm not saying there are not absolute times where you must be serious and you make sure your kids know the difference. But it's a great thing to have laughter and humor and a little bit of craziness in your household. It's great. Kids laugh almost 100 times a day. Adults laugh 3 or maybe 4. You need to get more laughter into your life. When I was a kid, I had an older brother that would tickle me until I screamed. I am hardly ticklish today. You can grab me in a lot of places. You can tickle my feet. I just don't respond. I just got tickled out. However, my children, on the other hand, when they were little boys, I would tickle them. And I mean just playfully tickle them. Really gently tickle their toes or tickle them right here under their arm or behind their knee. And I mean maybe 10 seconds. Because to me, it flew into cruelty when my brother would hold me down and not stop for like 10 or 15 minutes. So I don't believe in that. I would just tickle them for a few minutes and we would giggle and laugh together and it would be really fun. Sometimes we would do crazy things like get balloons and we would each have a different colored balloon. We would see who could hold our balloon up in the air the longest, or we would play balloon tag, go back and forth. Just things that are fun, things that'll get you to laugh. And that laughter releases endorphins and it helps you to have not just a happier moment, but a happier life, a lot less depression. It does so many great things. And so you want to have that going on. The other thing is do things that are a little fun or a little crazy. And just because you're a parent doesn't mean you shouldn't. So when my kids were little, I would get them wild things like bubbles till I learned how to make them. So now I can actually make pretty good bubbles. But I would get bubbles and we would do things like go to the park and blow as many bubbles as we could. We'd each have our own bottle full of bubbles and then pop them or like really gently. You can't blow a bubble much because it'll burst. You have to blow it really softly. See who could keep our bubble up in the air, and then you get this big smatter of soap all over your face. But it was so much fun. Oh my word. I can't minimize the importance of playing crazy games together. So when you talk about things like Twister, the old-fashioned kind that you actually have to put on the ground, put your hands, which I couldn't do very well right now with my arm broken, but put your hands on various places and you end up all twisted around each other, and it's a guaranteed way to laugh. It's a really funny thing to do together as a family, and it will indeed bring a certain amount of lightness or relief, I guess I'm going to say. There's a reason they call it comic relief into your family as a whole, and it's a good thing to do. Another thing, when your child is having a really bad day, you have to be careful. You'd really like to encourage her to smile, you want to cheer her up, but it might not be the greatest time for her to hear a joke. She just might need you to put your arm around her and let her cry for a little while. But when the crying part is over, and you're trying to help her feel better. You can even do things like, remember when, and talk about really funny stories from when she was a kid and bring it back to her, a younger kid. I mean, if she's 7, how much history does she have? But you might be surprised. Bring it back to her, some of the wild and crazy things that happened, some of the really awesome times that you had together, and try to bring a little more light and cheer into her day when she's had a rough day earlier or a difficult time. And so humor is a big part of affection, okay? If nobody ever laughs at your house, if there's never any playfulness going on, then why I want to encourage you to find a way to introduce humor into your family and to enjoy those elements of affection that come from sharing laughter together. I'm going to tell you one thing. When my son took the bottle of Crisco oil, poured it across the kitchen floor, ripped off his diaper, and did all these belly slides back and forth across the floor with that oil, I wanted to hurt him. That was not a good day. But the telling of the story is awesome. And most people can just picture it in their mind and crack up laughing. There are days, if I'm having a really hard time, I try to picture him as an adult because he's a really adventurous guy, um, developing a smooth, smooth floor that has a light coating of oil across it all the time, and people showing up in their bathing suits and belly sliding. It's just an awesome picture in my mind. I don't think anybody's ever come up with anything like this yet. And so sometimes you just have to take the challenges of life where you want to rip out your hair and see the humor in it. And sometimes the humor is in the retelling or imagining it in another time and place. And so I want you to have humor in your life. I want you to show affection to your family as you laugh together. My challenge question for you today is this: how do I do at having fun and laughing with my kids? If there's a lot of yelling and not much laughing, then I invite you today to incorporate humor into your home and to really learn to laugh with your children. Thank you so much for joining me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. You may find additional information on our paintabeautifulpicture.com website. Additionally, you may watch me on Rumble, and you may also listen to a podcast on Buzzsprout or Spreaker, all under the name Paint a Beautiful Picture. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You may subscribe, and if you are interested in receiving notifications, please hit the notifications button.